Malika and HOA for this wonderful webinar on diabetes, this vitrectomy, surgical, and DME also. You see, I just wanted to touch upon the overusage of anti-VEGFs as an alternate to PRP. I know 5-year data has come and it has proven that anti-VEGFs non-inferior to PRP. But you see, I had this patient which had one-eyed patient right eye, and you see the location of these fronts on the this right side in this right eye like this. So I obviously, because this vision in this eye was 6 by 18, so I gave a shot of anti-VEGF and this responded. And after that, I did some laser to the periphery, so I spared the central part. So this patient did well. So what I'm trying to say is that my choice is always laser, laser, and laser in PDR, but only in the if the location of the front is right on the posterior pole, I may judiciously use anti-VEGF agents. So this is lower one is the pre-op color photo of this patient, and upper one is the post-injection before the addition of laser. So this was another patient. However, in patients who have already been lasered, in case they have small neoescalation somewhere and they bleed once in a while, I do add anti-VEGF. So upper one is before anti-VEGF, and this is after anti-VEGF. In a lasered, I feel very safe. And this patient also had a concurrent macular edema, which also got resolved after this one shot of anti-VEGF. And this is the color photograph of the same patient pre and post-operative. So coming to diabetic surgery, I think Satish has already emphasized. I'll just rush through them. All membranes don't require surgery, especially in one-eyed patient, vision being maintained and stable. Other thing is, you see all vitreous hemorrhage. A lot of people keep injecting with the aim that they will have, anti-VEGF will arrest the neoescalation, which is not true. Especially in unlasered retina, one should not. We can go ahead and do vitrectomy. That will be more useful rather than injecting anti-VEGF. So this patient I'm following for last so many years. In fact, vision is being maintained in 612, so no need to touch at all. However, this patient, we had to touch, but somehow injection was given elsewhere and patient landed up with florid rubeosis with marked reduction of vision to PLPR. So indications of vitreous surgery in diabetic retinopathy, non-resolving vitreous hemorrhage has decreased quite a bit. Most of the times, most of us are operating either macular TRDs or combined TRDs. So this has become number one indication in diabetic retinopathy. And the threshold of entering into the vitreous has decreased. It's no longer 6 months, not even 3 months. We go much earlier because of the safety of the instrumentation of MIVS. Another indications which Dinesh also highlighted was a non-responsive macular edema, but you have to be very careful. Tractional macular edema do respond, but non-tractional edema, after you are fed up of anti-VEGFs and steroids, the visual improvement may or may not be there. Like I said, around 50% patients may improve statistically. So I have only one video to show, and this video has 3-4 patients videos, so which I combined. So this was a relatively simpler patient. The same 5 principles which Satish said. We clear the vitreous, try to make a hole in the hyaloid if you identify this. So like in this patient, we created a hole in this. This is the hyaloid. We try to create a hole. I do apply gentle suction, not pull it off, but I do apply gentle suction. So this loose blood comes out with the this vitreous cutter itself. And after this loose blood comes out, then you evaluate various membranes, what needs to be pulled, what needs to be cut, and what needs to be left behind. So this was this couple of membranes on the disc. And sometimes what Satish also said, that there may be ooze during the surgery. So this is very important. If the ooze is significant, raising a bottle is the immediate impulse, but you see these patients have compromised disc. So this patient had a lot of bleeding. So do not allow this to form another membrane. Try to remove this blood as early as possible. Otherwise, a lot of time may get wasted to remove this blood, and you may sometimes require forceps to remove this also. So use backflash very early in the course of ooze, which happens iatrogenically in these patients. And then what I do is a traction kind of test. So here we are using this end opening forceps, and there is a distinct membrane which you will see. If it comes off easily, you progress and peel it off, like this is being shown here. And this makes the surgery slightly faster. And after that, as very rightly said, do airflow exchange and put in a lot of laser. Without laser, none of the diabetic vitrectomy is complete. This is a patient who had a tractional edema. So we injected triamcinolone to induce PVD. Here, pull was obviously more. And a lot of these patients, Shobit would agree, we do a combined surgery, combined with cataract surgery as well as macular surgery. IUL is injected, one suture is put. I put one drop of this dye on in an air-filled eye, and then try to tease off this membrane with the 25 gauge MVR epiretinal membrane, stained very well. And after this comes out, I do attempt to put in this BBG dye also and try to peel off this ILM. And in this patient, we did not peel it off. We just, made multi flaps and put it. You can see those cystic cavities right in the center of the frame. These are chronic cysts which were there. So we just peeled them, created this multi-layered flap, and then did an airflow exchange and came out. So this was another very severe, which Satish also showed. So you see, this was a very tough cord-like front, and this was not being easily cut. So therefore, it had to be, even at the cost of some ooze from the disc, had to be peeled out. This was in the inferior nasal quadrant after most of the surgery was done, and a lot of bleeding which kept occurring from this, and we had to use diathermy liberally to coagulate these vessels. So this blood which comes out, you take it out, diathermize all the oozers, then do section and do liberal laser as peripheral as you can. So this short clip shows bimanual surgery. We use this 25 gauge chandelier system here, and with scissors in left hand and forceps in right. So indications are this tough membranes or sticky membranes on the arcade. So this generally does not come out so easily with cutters unless there is a plane. In this patient, plane was very difficult to find out, so I had to resort to this bimanual surgery. Even in this era of 25 or 27 gauge, vitrectomy. So then this patient, we had done, some breaks had also formed, and I had to use silicone oil in this patient. This last video shows, you see, we had cleared majority of the traction, but in this left eye, there was a significant traction still remaining nasal to the disc, and which with my best efforts could not remove that. So I had to change the direction of the infusion cannula. So we shifted the infusion cannula from the lower temporal to the upper nasal part. The cataract also surgery was done. And then what was, on the nasal side became inferior for me once I shifted my chair. And then this became accessible. And we removed this with the help of suction applied with the cutter. And this was a reasonably tough kind of membrane, which was gently peeled with a combination of instrumentation, combination of cutter plus this Ackard forceps, and gently, this came off. And after this all the traction got released, this was taken out and again shift back to infratemporal cannula infusion, and then did a lot of laser, extensive laser, and remove the blood also. So this I labeled as a positional kind of vitrectomy, which can be resorted to sometimes. You see the extensive laser being done in this patient. So even in this era of 25-27 gauge, bimanual still has a role in difficult dissections because it adds precision, and complication may be less and better hemostasis and reduced exchange. Couple of pre-ops and post-op, this had bilateral TRD in this patient, and this is post-op reasonably good job. There are some islands of segmented tissues still there. Another patient, bilateral, TRD, doing reasonably well after this VR surgery. This is the patient which I had shown you before, presented with rubiosis, and this was the post-op result of this patient. Reasonably good 6/18 vision he had gone. So diabetic, not a simple job. No two diabetic retinopathy are the same. PVD is difficult because there are multiple tenacious attachments are there, and this BNB occurs sometimes. You see, break may form because of the strong attachment, and because they're vascular, even though you may give Avastin pre-operatively, they may still tend to bleed. Although anti-VEGFs pre-operatively, the bleeding is much less. So what is required is all these diabetics work slowly, have a lot of patience, don't pull much, and newer probes have made the job much easier, and bicycle can be sometimes. Thank you very much for listening. Judicious use of all these modalities, believe me, and slow approach is beneficial for these patients. Thank you once again, HOA and Malika, for this opportunity.
Yeah, wonderful videos, sir. Wonderful videos. And the novel concept I find is the position change of the surgeon, which we see with the phaco surgeons doing it for a temporal incision. So I think that is something very novel, and I think we could try that to
Yeah.
improve manipulations.
I actually prefer to change the hand for the nasal quadrant of the left eye. I use the left hand as the cutter.
Yeah.
So no, for the left hand.
I agree. I also try that, but if the membrane is very well stuck to the,
this is a good option.
If the membrane is loose or vitreous is to be cut, we do left hand surgery. But if the membrane requires dissection, so plane is not visible, then sometimes